Hello, I'm Tiffany, creator of Red Petal Patterns, and this is Knitting Basics for Beginners. I want to start with a disclaimer. The way I am going to show you how to start your knitting and how to make your stitches is only my preference based on my experience of teaching other new knitters. I find that this is the easiest way to start. From there, you can build your skills, practice, get more confident. You can try different styles. There are as many ways to knit as there are knitters. You do not have to do it any specific way. The only rules are going to be which way your stitches turn so that they're not twisted. Other than that, it's going to pretty much be your own personal preference. This is just the way that I have found leads to the most success. Other than that, I will also make a lot of hand gestures to indicate direction, because I personally sometimes get left, right, up, down, front, back mixed up. And if you do too, then you may find the gestures of me saying left hand, right hand easier to understand when you're looking at it, because my words may not match my hand movements. And I will apologize now. Editing Tiffany will try to pull that out. When you first start, you're going to need supplies. Again, these are just my suggestions, but I believe the perfect way to start is with beginner needles and plain cotton. So if you have this in the store, I'm sorry I do not have one with a label on it to show you. But this is either peaches and cream or sugar and cream. And those are the two major brands. I think they're actually owned by the same parent company. They are plain cotton, and it'll come in a small ball about this size, but it'll look nicer. And they come in tons of colors, so you can choose anything you want. And it is 100% cotton. It will feel a little stiff. Don't worry about that. It gets less stiff as it's been washed. The reason I choose this is because, first of all, it's cotton. Most people don't have to worry about cotton. It is a natural product. You don't have to worry about plastics. It also has a coating on it that makes it just a tad stiffer and smoother, so it's easier to see your stitches while you're working. And you can pull it out and start over repeatedly without it fraying or knotting on itself and trying to belt on its own fuzz. It's also got a really nice tight twist on it, so it's difficult to split it with your needles, so your needle going into the yarn instead of into the loop. It's more difficult to do that with this type of yarn. It's not the yarn you would have to stick with forever, but it is not a bad yarn. I've made plenty of sweaters out of peaches and cream yarn. The other thing that you would need, and I usually suggest beginner needles, they typically come in a brushed plastic. And the plastic is just flexible enough that you're not going to strain your hands on it. It has the perfect size and texture to pair with the cotton, so that you don't have to worry about your stitches slipping off of your needles. And they also won't stick, so it'll move freely back and forth across the needle as you need it to. They generally come in a size 9. If you can't find beginner needles. You can buy any plastic needle in a size 9 and get the same effect. But the reason I like beginner needles is because they have this lovely little ball point at the end. You may not really be able to tell. But this is just a little extra assurance that you're not going to poke yourself, because you will touch the tips starting out. Everybody does. You also will have a harder time piercing the yarn and splitting it open instead of going into the hole. And that little extra lip keeps your stitches from sliding off of the needle tip easier. So this is going to be very helpful for a brand new knitter that doesn't have the manual dexterity yet and the muscle memory to make the stitches. You wouldn't have to use them forever, and you can pass them on to another new knitter later, but I find that it's very helpful when you're just starting out. If you decide to buy a different yarn, cotton or otherwise, what you need to look for, and this is on any commercially available yarn, should have a label with information on it. And part of the information that you're going to get is this number. It'll look like a ball of yarn, and it will have a big number in the middle of it. That number is called the weight of the yarn, and that basically tells you how thick the yarn is, how thick the individual strand of yarn is. You have to use different size needles for different size yarn, and you want a 4 when you're starting out. This is also called medium, worsted, or Aran, which are actually different things, but they all fall under size 4. And that is going to match your size 8 or 9 needles very well and give you a nice gauge on your finished product. It's not going to be too tight. It's not going to be too loose. You're not going to have big spaces in there. You're going to get the proper spaces for your stitches. And that is the basics of what you're going to need starting out. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.